Cannot do that. We can't start this great meeting off like that. Next he's going to say he's 8'10", and we will. Oh my God.
Okay, we'll dial it down a little bit. I missed you. You haven't been out here to see us in a while. How you been?
I've been blessed, man. I've been blessed. You're still a mentor to me. I'm still following you by reading your books, by listening to your podcast, by listening to some of the stuff that I can get on the internet. So
awesome.
I don't know if you can see in the background, but you made my motivation board. You're
I see it. Yeah, I see it now.
Unstoppable.
That is very cool. Well done. You got that position just right for this, don't you? I was going to see that. That's really good.
A little bit of branding. That's what we do here. A little bit of branding.
There you go. That'll work. That'll do.
Well, look at all these smiley faces that you have on just to come and listen to you today. So I'm excited. Thank you for being here. And anything that's off limits before we get started? Anything you want to stay away from, not do?
You know, in me, there's nothing off limits. It's all good. It's all good. We'll talk about whatever and I'll open it up. We'll have some Q&A at the end too. Anything anybody wants to ask. I don't always promise I have a good answer, but I'll do the best I can.
Perfect. Well, again, welcome everybody, and let's get started with our AMA, Ask Me Anything, our Zoom chat, our Hollywood Pal Zoom chat with our guest today, Mr. Dave Anderson. For those of you that don't know, Mr. Dave Anderson is a motivational speaker. He speaks both nationally and internationally. He speaks over 100 times a year to different groups, to different programs, different organizations. He's written over 14 books now. Is that right?
Yeah, number 15 is coming out in April, so it's getting there.
15 books. He's also the co-founder of Matthew 2535 Foundation, which is a foundation that helps feed, clothe, and house under-resourced people worldwide, not just here in California, not just here in LA, but worldwide. He's a multi-millionaire. He is one of my mentors, and we're very happy to have him on here today.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the foundation. Just as a quick aside, we just helped smuggle 5,000 Bibles into Morocco. A project. Yeah, nothing like starting out by talking about breaking the law in another country, but that's actually what we did, because that's not legal there. But we helped an initiative there that just got fired. There's a lot of believers out there that can't get the Bible, so our foundation does things like that. But you want me to start off with my background, Jeff, and just kind of go from there?
If you're okay with that, let's talk about possibly how you grew up, where you grew up, and go get into it.
I grew up in Chicago. I was born. I had 4 brothers, and our family was pretty poor. My dad scraped some money together though, and got into the restaurant business later. But I was okay in school. I mean, I was a C student. The only thing I was really good at in school was English and history. I wasn't any good at math and science and all those things, and always respect people who are good at that, but I wasn't. And when it came time to go to college, my dad talked me out of it. I don't think I could have gone anyway. I didn't have the money, and I didn't qualify for any scholarships. I wasn't good at any sports, so I couldn't get in that way. But he talked me into going into the restaurant business with him. So when I was 18, I never went to college, and never went. Everybody that works for me has gone. You don't have to work for me, but I never went. And I went into a restaurant business with my dad, and it went broke. He didn't run it right, and it went under. So when I was 19. It was kind of a rough start. I mean, I had to move into a house. He left. This was in Texas now. We had moved to Texas. We were in a little town called Wichita Falls, Texas. I was a short order cook at a truck stop. I can still cook a mean egg. I'll tell you that. I can cook egg. I can flip them in both hands. I can do pancakes. I can cook all that stuff. But it went broke, and he didn't run it right, and he ran out of town and was running from creditors, really. But I didn't want to run, so I had to move into a place I could afford. And it was a dump, honestly. I mean, it was a dump. I lived in a house that was infested with rats for a year. I didn't have any furniture. I had a sleeping bag. So it's kind of bad luck if you think about it, living in a house infested with rats when you don't even have a couch. There was no distance between me and the rats. So I lived in a sleeping bag in that house, and I had to get a job. And this was back before any of you can remember, but it was a really bad economy back then. This was back in 1979. Bad economy, worse than it was here recently. We had 13% inflation, 21% interest rates. Everybody said, Dave, you'll never find a job in this economy. And I found 3 because I needed to get out of there. You know, sometimes we got to have something in us that motivates us to change where we're at, to change where we live. And I wasn't eating right. And I didn't need anybody to give me a pep talk. It's like, I need to get out of here. Now, I'll tell you though, they weren't great jobs. So I took what was available. I think there's honor in all work. It doesn't matter what you do. Don't get cocky about what you do. If you do what you do well, you'll get noticed.
Amen. Amen.
And you know, everybody worries about what they're going to do. It doesn't matter what you do. What you do is how you do what you do. How you do what you do. That's what sets you apart, not what you do. And so I got a couple of basic jobs. I was selling insurance door to door. Now, that's a tough gig because you get a lot of doors slammed right in your face. But I learned about resilience, and I learned about not taking no for an answer and staying persistent. And I had 2 of those jobs that was just providing some food on the table. I'll tell you what made me get my 3rd job, though. You know, sometimes I talk in my seminars about sometimes what really motivates us is there's something that happens in our life that just sets a switch off in your mind. It's something that it flips a switch. And I'll tell you what mine was. I woke up one morning and looked down at my sleeping bag, and I noticed that the rats at the night had come over and gone to the bathroom on that sleeping bag. And that just set me off. It's like, man, I have got to get out of this place. So I went and got a 3rd job, which was delivering cases of corn tortillas from a factory to restaurants at night. They paid me 50 cents a case. And, you know, I learned it. I didn't enjoy those conditions. I mean, I was 19, and I thought, boy, my life is not starting out very well. And I didn't enjoy those conditions, but I look back and I learned some good lessons. And I learned that when you're going through a hard time, you don't sit there and just whine your way out, and you don't wait your way out, and you don't wait for the government or your mama to come bail your butt out. You get off your butt and you go work your way out. And I did. I worked my way out. I found out I was good at selling. It just something that came naturally to me. This is another thing. A lot of people in life, they will tell you to follow your passion. Well, I'll tell you what, I sucked at my passion. My passion was singing. I shouldn't sing. I mean, some people can't sing. I shouldn't sing. I open my mouth and horrible sounds fall out of it. Now, singing was my passion, but if I'd have followed my passion, I'd have gone broke.
You hear that, Murda? You hear that, Officer Murda?
I had to follow what I was good at. I had to follow what I was good at. Sometimes we're good at something, we don't have a passion for it, but that's what I followed. I was good at selling. I could communicate with people. I could make it make sense to them. So I was selling death policies door to door. And I remember I had a friend tell me, he said, you know, Dave, you might like selling cars more than selling death policies. Well, I thought, well, that sounds like an upgrade. I like cars. Not too many people get excited about a death policy. So I became a car salesman. So many people look down at car salesmen today. I think it's an honorable profession. If you're honest, if you do a great job. Now think about this. I'm young. I'm about 20, 21 years old, and I go into this car dealership. Everybody there's 50, 60. They're as old as I am now. I'm 59 now, right? I know I look 80, but I'm 59. And I go into that dealership, and there's all these fat men with bad habits. They're all smoking all day. They all got all their excuses, complaining about their wife, complaining about the money they make, complaining about the boss. I thought, I got no time for that. Another lesson I learned is you got to be careful who you hang around with. If I'd have hung around those people, I'd have been talking just like them. I'd have been thinking just like them. I sat alone at my desk a lot, making phone calls, trying to get people to come in. I was good at selling cars too. It took me a couple months to figure it out, but once I learned what I was doing, I became the top salesperson for 15 straight months. Oh, everybody hated that. They hated that. They hated the new young guy coming in. I just outworked them. I wasn't necessarily smarter than anybody. I've never been really smarter than anybody. I've pretty much just outworked people my whole life. That's one thing you can control. You can't always control, what gifts you've been given, but you can control how hard you work.
Control how hard.
I'd start earlier, I'd go later. And see, a lot of people I notice when they're at work, they don't work. I mean, they're at work, but they don't work at work. So now they had to spend more time at work trying to get done what they could have got done if they were working at work in the first place. Man, I just went to work to work. I didn't go there to complain and to have stupid conversations and talk about fantasy football and the news and all this garbage that's going on. I needed to make a living. I needed to get out of that house. I was dating a girl I wanted to marry, but I didn't have much to offer. I was driving a car that was an embarrassment. This car had a hole in the floorboard. Whenever I'd go over a puddle, my foot would get wet. And then it had a T-top and half of it was missing. It got broke, so I had it covered with a green garbage bag. And that's what I was driving. You imagine going up for a date, pulling up in something that looked like that. I'd be better up to go up in a bicycle or a pogo stick.
Mr. Anderson.
A car that looked like that. And so I was motivated. And I did well. I loved selling. Then I moved into management. And then I got a job offer to go and run a group of 6 dealerships up in Palo Alto, California. I had gotten real good at selling cars. We'd made money. I'd paid off my bills. We'd moved into a nice house in Texas. I got married, had a daughter. Things were going good. And then it's like, let's risk it all. There wasn't that much room to grow there in Wichita Falls. The dealerships were small. I got a wonderful job offer. Moving to California. So moved out there and I ran 6 dealerships. Was making real good money then. And then a big company bought the 6 stores, and they forced me out. They said, yeah, we're going to change things. And so I was back without a job. That's when I decided to start our own company. And that's when I wrote my first book, and I started speaking about success. That was 21 years ago. My wife and I started our company over our kitchen table after I'd been forced out of a big company. And I always liked speaking. Even in school, one of the things I was good at was English and debate. And that came easy to me. I was never nervous once in front of an audience, even as a kid. That's a gift. And I know a lot of people get very nervous, and I understand that. I don't know what that's like. And I'm blessed for that.
Amen.
And so I just thought, this is what I want to do. I got to make a living at this. Now I got to have something to say. A lot of people want to be a speaker. They don't have a lot to say, but there were a lot of principles I had learned along that bumpy road that made me successful. One of them was not blaming, just accepting responsibility, focusing on what you could control. I could have blamed my dad. My dad beat me a lot as a kid, beat all of us boys. I could have blamed my parents. I could have blamed, I never went to college. That blaming just makes you weak because it takes your eyes off of what you can do something about and puts it on all this stuff you can't control. I can't control my father. I couldn't control the economy. I couldn't control the government. I couldn't control in business what the competition was doing. I couldn't control the fact I couldn't afford to go to college. What I could control was how hard I was going to work that day. What I could control, whether I was going to have high character. Was I going to make right choices and be honest, because that would build my own reputation. What I could control was my attitude. Now, there's a lot of people that just say, well, I've always been negative. It's like, well, you've always chosen to be negative. You don't have to be negative. You can't control what happens to you, but you do get to choose how you respond to it. When I woke up that day and I found that the rats had pooped all over my sleeping bag, that was a bad thing that happened, but I got to choose how I responded to it. And so I chose to go get a third job. So that's what makes us different so much in life, is not what happens to us, but how we choose to deal with it. And so that was a lesson I really learned about. And I even find there's some very successful business people today. I've spoken in 20 countries now. I've been blessed. I've done this 21 years. I've spoken in 20 countries. I've written 15 books. But even sometimes at the highest levels, you'll see people sliding back into that blame game, wanting to blame somebody else for them not doing better. Like during this pandemic, there's a lot of blame to go around. People want to blame the government, and I'm not saying that some blame isn't legitimate. There's some people that do some wrong things to you. There's some people that do some things they should not do, say some things they should not say. All I'm saying is blaming them isn't going to help you. And I was blessed to learn that early on. In my seminars, I tell people today that blame is the anti-focus. That's what I call it, the anti-focus. Blame takes your energy, your effort off all the things you can control and puts it on all this stuff you can't control. It makes you a victim. You start talking like a victim. I would be doing better, but.
Brother Anderson, I don't mean to cut you off, but
yeah, it's
just
okay.
listening. Can you see these goosebumps? Can you see those goosebumps? Every time you talk, I get goosebumps, baby. Man, oh man. I hope these kids are getting this. Before we go any further, I have to go to my boss, Captain Bixler. If you want to jump in and say anything, sir, it's the floor is yours.
Anytime.
Oh, wow. I have to follow Dave? Are you kidding me?
No pressure, sir. No pressure.
Just thank you. I just wanted to say hello to all of you guys and just say what amazing people you are for being here. I love to see your smiling faces. And I'm glad to finally meet you. I've been here since August, but haven't had a chance to meet you guys. So please, if you see me out and about, please introduce yourselves. I'd love to meet all of you. And Dave specifically, love your work. You know, I was just looking at your website for your Matthew 25:35 Foundation, and just thank you for doing the work you do. And just so you guys know, Dave, not only does he speak a lot, but he gives back. And that's one of the principles that you guys are learning, is that whenever you're given, it's such a blessing to give back. And a lot of the scholarships, specifically the scholarships of $10,000, are given by Dave. And thank you so much for allowing these students and these kids to experience more than they would be able to without your help. So let's give Dave a nice big hand for providing those scholarships to you guys. And really just such a blessing. And I just wanted to, you know, I'm a man of faith, and I just want to thank you for leading with what the Lord has told you to do. And thank you very much. That's all I got.
Thank you, Captain.
Amen. Thank you.
I appreciate that. And you guys jump in anytime. I'm just, I mean, this will just be a fluid presentation. But, you know, we started, since you bring it up, Captain, we started our foundation, I think it was back in 2006, and we always wanted to give back. I mean, even when I wasn't making a lot of money, I always believed in tithing to the church. We went to a church, and I believed in giving 10% of what I was making, even when we weren't making much. And I was just always a believer in that. I know people have different beliefs, but I'm just sharing mine. And so when we started doing real well, I thought, well, I want us to give back on a bigger level. And I tell you, that's one of my passions now. I mean, a lot of people don't know we help feed 400 orphans a day. Wow. They're in the Ukraine. A lot of people don't know that in the Ukraine, there's a lot of discrimination, and they discriminate against the gypsy people. Gypsies are an ethnic group, and they're really looked down on. They're a darker people there that's just looked down on. And they make them live in camps. Can you believe that? In this modern age, they make them live in these filthy camps. And the big deal is when their parents die, there's nothing to take care of them. Government won't take care of them. They're not allowed to go to the schools. And so these orphans, if there's not something to help them, they get sold into sex trafficking. They get brought into pornography, all these horrific things. And so there's some churches in these camps, and we work through some of them. There's 19 camps. We've helped build 3 soup kitchens in 3 of the camps. So our goal is to someday maybe have one in all 19. And every day these kids go in and they eat in shifts. And so while some of them are eating, the other ones are getting education. They're teaching them Bible stories. They're teaching them some educational things that'll help them. So it's not just a soup kitchen, but it's like a little bit of a school for them. And my daughter and I, we went over to Ukraine. Before we invested, we wanted to go see it for ourselves. So we flew over there and we toured these camps. And they were no electricity. You had little 10-year-old, 9-year-old kids running around smoking cigarettes that they had gotten from somebody or stolen from somebody, running around naked, no clothes. I remember I was drinking a Diet Coke, and I was addicted to Diet Coke at the time. I'd broken that addiction. And someone's trying to grab it out of my hand. And there you go. And I looked down, and there's this little naked 3-year-old boy trying to wrestle this Diet Coke out of my hand. I thought, well, son, I'll give you food, I'll give you money, but you ain't getting my Diet Coke. I got to drink that Diet Coke. But we do things like that, and we do things here in LA, and we do things we help persecuted Christians. It's one of my passions. I worked with leaders of the underground church in Iran for 8 years. And I would fly over there, and we would bring 50 or 60 leaders out of Iran. You may have heard Iran, they persecute Christians. And I would train them during the day on leadership, and then I would train them at the night how to defend themselves. I got into the martial arts in my 40s. I know some of you are probably into that through your PAL programs and so forth. I started having these assignments to go to do mission trips in risky parts of the world. I was working with the Russians in Russia, and I was working with the Iranians, and so I needed to learn how to take care of myself. And so I got real good at it. I'm a 2nd-degree black belt now. I always tell people, don't let this gray hair fool you. I can still clear a room. I can do pretty well. But I would teach them leadership during the day, and I'd teach them how to take care of themselves at night. And you know who is the best at self-defense? The women. Those women, they would whip the men every time. See, the men had egos. It's like, no, man, I'm good. I'm good. You teach those ladies how to do some things, they were vicious. And so my speaking gifts had brought me to a lot of cool places. And we have a family business. My wife is in it. My daughter was in it. She's got 2 kids now under 2, so she had to go become a full-time mom. But we've had a lot of great experiences together. You never know where your gifts are going to bring you. I never thought I would work with athletes. That's one of the things my gifts, my books brought me. I had a college coach read one of my books, contacted me over Twitter. Now, I'm not a big fan of social media because there's a lot of negativity and toxicity on social media, but there's some good with it too. And I had a college coach say, hey, Dave, I read your book. I'd love you to come talk to my team. And that was several years ago. And I worked with the Indiana Hoosiers men's basketball team. Some of those guys are in the pros now. So I helped them. I couldn't shoot a basket. Now, I know you can shoot a basket. Yeah. I don't work with them with the basket part. I work with their mindset. Because now this is a lesson. You got a lot of people with a lot of talent, but their head's not right.
Yeah. Speaking about that mindset, Brother Anderson, you talked about when you were growing up, you went through the hard times. You were dirt poor. You guys slept on the floor, and the rats were crawling up to your sleeping bag. A lot of our kids come from poorer families and have been ostracized a little bit in their schools, in their communities. Talk to us a little bit about how you got out of that, how you dealt with being picked on or bullied possibly when you were some of our kids' age.
I really withdrew into myself. I went to a school where there was a lot of rich kids. Well, I wasn't one of them. And so I didn't fit in. But you know the cool thing? I wish I'd have figured this out sooner. I'm glad I don't fit in. When you look at how most people think, when you look at how most people spend their time, when you look at the things most people say, when you look at what most people watch on TV, when you look at the lives most people are living, thank God I don't fit in. I don't want to say those things. I don't want to think those things. I don't want to watch those things. I don't want to go those places. I don't fit in. And so I started reading a lot. You know, I educated myself. I didn't go to college, but man, I read a lot of books. And I learned that, okay, you know, there's no excuse for ignorance. I don't care if you're poor. There's no excuse for ignorance. If you look up the definition of ignorance, you know what it says: lacking information, training, or knowledge. Well, there's all kind of free places you can get information, training, and knowledge. Okay, and so I did. I mean, how much does a library card cost? How much does it cost just to get on an internet that's free at a school or a library and look for information? And we didn't even have that back then. We didn't have the internet back when I was your age, but we had libraries. We had school libraries. We had public libraries. I got a library in my house now. I went from having a house that I had to sleep with rats to having a house with a library. I got 1,200 books in my library.
Good Lord. That's another thing I wanted to touch on. You talked about how you didn't have a job and you went out and you got one job, two jobs, three jobs. When you were sleeping on the floor and then the rats were pissing on your whatchamacallit, on your sleeping bag, no money in your pocket.
Right.
What did you, when you made the top job at the sales company, at the car company, what were you making then? What type of numbers were you making then? Not what you're making now, because we know that's astronomical, but what type of money were you making?
Well, and you got to remember, Jeff, this was back in the 80s and 90s. And I was a car salesman back then, and even when I was selling stuff door to door. Now, when I started off, I was making $3.35 an hour.
One more time, Brother Dave. One more time.
$3.35 an hour. But I'm going to tell you something. That's all I was worth. To me, when I was flipping an egg, I'm just going to level with. To me, flipping an egg wasn't worth $15 an hour. Okay, and there's a lot of people today, they want to get paid, but you got to look at what it's worth. I was flipping an egg. I was putting toast in a toaster. I was boiling water and putting food in an oven. That's about what it was worth, $3.35 an hour. Now, when I became worth more, I started making more. See, here's the thing, guys. To get more than you got to become more than you are. A lot of people want to get more, but they're not becoming more. They're not becoming more positive. They're not becoming more disciplined. They're not becoming more knowledgeable. They're not becoming a man or woman of higher integrity. Everybody wants to get more. Of course we want to get more, but becoming precedes getting. Most people don't get this. You got to get more focused. You got to get more motivated. You got to get more results. And let me tell you something. It's nobody's job to motivate you. I have people today that just tell me, boy, if someone would come along and motivate me, I'd just do better. Well, it's like, what if they don't show up? You're going to put your motivation in somebody else's hands? Why don't you have something within you that's burning? Something you want to become, something you want to have, a difference you want to make, somebody you want to help. You can control that. You can figure that out. Why should somebody have to give you a pep talk or hug you and burp you and nurse you and bribe you to get your rear end out of gear and get you going? You ought to have something in you that makes people need to get out of your way. See, I didn't need anybody to motivate me. What I needed was people to get out of my way. Because I had stuff I needed to do. I had places I needed to go. I had something I wanted to go. I had a life I wanted to live. And I was blessed. I figured that out real young. I knew what I didn't want to be like. I didn't want to be like my dad. I love my dad. He's still alive today. He's almost 90. But I know I didn't want to be like him. I knew sometimes knowing what we don't want to do helps us figure out what we want to do. I don't need a pep talk. People that need pep talks, it's like you need bigger goals in your life. Any extra motivation you get should not get you going. You should already be going. It should get you going faster. You should already be going. You should already be going. That life is short. Don't wait till you're my age to figure this stuff out. Life is short. It goes by really quick. Why do you need someone to get you going?
Amen.
I know
Amen.
there's stuff you want. I know there's things you want to do. I know there's places you want to go. I know there's people you want to help. I know there's a difference you want to make. Who should have to talk you into that stuff? No one should have to do that. And so I was lucky. I figured that out. And you know, the good thing about being at the bottom, and I would say I was pretty much at the bottom. I guess it could be worse. At least I did have a roof over my head, and I was blessed to have that. Some people do not have that. It makes you more grateful. I was grateful I ate a lot of, here's what I got to eat a lot of. Ate a lot of refried beans because they were cheap. And when I was delivering those cases of corn tortillas, I got to keep the broken packages. So I got to eat the corn. I had a lot of corn, and to this day, I still love both. I never got burned out on it. I could sit right down now and have me some corn tortillas and refried beans, and I'd just be fine. But you know, you have to figure out, what do you want and what are you willing to do to get it? Because no one's going to come along and rescue you. It's no one's responsibility to come along and rescue you. You got to wait. You got to stop waiting for someone to bail you out or for something to change for you. Something's got to change within you. This is how people go through life, though. I got people in my own family. They drive me nuts. At a family reunion, I don't even want to talk to them. Talking about they never get a break. How did I get all the breaks? How did I get the breaks? I worked for my breaks. I found out the harder I worked, the luckier I got. Isn't that amazing how that happens? No one's coming to rescue you. You got to figure it out. You got to figure it out. And what you decide to do is just as important as what you decide not to do. You know the secret of the rich? Time management. The secret of the rich is time management. The rich man and the poor man have the same amount of time in a day. Rich man, a billionaire doesn't have any more time than the guy living under the bridge. What are you doing with it? You know, getting addicted to video games and surfing on the internet and just having these stupid conversations that aren't taking you anywhere, talking about all this stuff that isn't going to help you. If that's what you want to do with your time, that is your choice. Now, I believe in fun. I have a lot of fun in moderation.
I'm on my phone.
In moderation.
Amen.
Okay.
Amen.
I enjoy a good drink from time to time in moderation. Okay. I enjoy television rarely in moderation. But you got to figure out what's going to get you to where you want to go. It's not television, and it's not video games, and it's not stupid conversations with your friends. And it's not getting addicted to social media and getting upset because you only got 2 likes on the photos you posted. That's not going to get you to where you want to go. Okay? And so am I doing right now, is what I'm doing going to take me to where I want to go? If not, how much time do I want to spend doing it? And number 1, do I even know where I want to go? Because if you don't know where you want to go, then you're going to do way too many things. You're going to be spread way too thin. So you don't have to have it all figured out, but you got to know some general direction. I never knew when I started selling cars, I didn't know I'd be a speaker. I didn't have a master plan, but I knew this was the thing for me right now. And if I do that really well, it'll take me to the next thing. And if I do that really well, it'll open up a door somewhere else. You don't have to have the whole 100-point plan figured out. Let me take that pressure off of you. But you got to know the next right thing to do now. And then what's the next right thing you do after that? And then what's the next right thing you do after that? You're going to go climb Mount Everest. You don't have to have every zig and zag figured out before you leave base camp. A lot of it you're going to figure out along the way. But you got to have that first general direction. And so you got to figure out what that is. What are you good at? Don't follow your passion. You might suck at your passion. If you're really good at your passion, then follow it. But if you're like me, I suck at my passion. What are you good at? Start investing the hundreds and thousands of hours it's going to take over a lifetime to get great at that. And let me tell you, when that happens, you're going to feel good about yourself. You're going to get recognition. You're going to be paid for what you do, and that's going to make you passionate about it. And it doesn't, as I said, it doesn't matter what you do. How do you do what you do? Do it with excellence. People just do it to do it. People go to work, they do the bare minimum required. They think it's heroic. It's not heroic. Doing what you're required to do, that's what average people do. You want to stand out, you're going to have to do more than that. You're going to have to do more than that. You're going to have to go that second mile. One of my mentors said there's no traffic jam on the second mile. You're not going to find it very crowded. You got a lot of people in life that are not even doing what they're required to do. And then they complain about the money they don't have from the work they won't do. And then you got a lot of people who do a step up. They'll do what's required and they think they should be rewarded for it. It's heroic. And then you got people that say, look, whatever is required to do, that's baseline, but that's not who I am. I'm going to measure myself by how much I do over what I'm required to do. Because if I do that, there won't be a lot of competition. It's not, folks, let me tell you something, my friend. It's not crowded at the top. It's crowded at the bottom. There is intense competition amongst the mediocre. If you will do a little more than is expected, you will stand out. And if you do it consistently and continue to increase what you do, you'll be in a league of your own. It doesn't take a high IQ. It doesn't take being born to the right parents. It doesn't take money. It doesn't take a college education. It takes the right heart and mindset just to outwork other people. You outwork them, you out-tough them, you outclass them, you outlast them. And anybody can do that. That's within the control of anybody.
Ooh-wee, baby, ooh-wee.
Well, people don't like what I'm saying, Officer Lear. A lot of people don't like what I'm saying because it takes away their excuses. They'd rather blame mama or where they grew up or how they were born or where they're from or their ethnic background or the school they went to or the school they didn't go to. And there are people in this world today of every gender, of every ethnic background, every color, and every economic status that are billionaires. People who look just like you, sound like you, or are from places like you're from, who have been through some of the same stuff you've been through. Everybody thinks they've been through something unique. Let me tell you something. We all been through something. We all been through something. Thing. We all been through a lot of the same stuff, and that is not what's going to make us different. It's how we handle it that makes us different. And you get to choose that. And that ought to excite you. This is why when I have business people in the room, and I tell them, I said, now whatever is holding you back is your fault. And I get this strange look from them. I said, don't look at me like that. I said, because if I'm telling you it's your fault, you can fix it. Now, if it's someone else's fault, if it's the government's fault, if it's the Democrats' fault, the Republicans' fault, or the Christians' fault, or the Muslims' fault, or your mama's fault, or California's fault, then you'd have somebody to blame. But I'm telling you, it's your fault. And when it's your fault, you ought to rejoice. Because if it's your fault, you can do something to change it. You can choose to think differently, spend your time differently, look at things differently. A lot of you think your problem is your problem. Your problem isn't your problem. It's how you look at your problem that's the problem. Change that and your problem's no problem. It all starts with how we think.
Ooh.
Let me tell you something about excuses. They make you ordinary. They make you common. Nobody wants to help anybody that makes excuses. I've sat in a lot of business meetings. I've never heard anybody say, you know what? We got a promotion available. Let's give it to Sally. She makes great excuses. I've never heard anybody say, you know, we got these 3 new opportunities. Let's give it to old Joe here. He makes better excuses than anybody else on the team. Excuses are the DNA of underachievers. It is one thing all underachievers have in common. They have this whole list of stuff that explains why they're not doing better. That's why it's so easy to beat those people. Just focusing on what you can control. People say, well, Dave, I'm only 16. There's not a lot I can control. Oh, no, I disagree. There's a lot you can control. I don't care what you can control how you think. You can control how you respond to things. You can control your character choices. If you have a job, you can control how hard you work. To a large degree, you get to control where you spend your time and with whom you spend it. You can control whether you're going to listen to feedback and advice. You get to control whether you're going to grow and work on yourself. Don't tell me there's not much you can control about your age or because of your age or your economic status. There's a lot you can control. We're just not controlling it in many cases. We're letting people take control, and they're shaping us rather than us shaping our life. I don't want to be shaped. I want to shape. I'm guessing you do too. I got shaped for 19 years. That was long enough. Then I decided I need to start shaping things. I needed to start taking responsibility. And anybody can do it. Hey, look, if you could have seen me if you could have seen me at 18 or 19, it would give everybody in the world hope. Because I was bad off. You could have seen me in school. Nobody knew who I was. Nobody knew my name. There was no need to know my name. I didn't play sports. I wasn't any good academically. I was Mr. No Name, Mr. Cellophane. It's okay. Didn't stay that way. It's not where you're at, guys. It's where you're going.
There were some incredible words of affirmation that I got from you when I went to your seminar in the summertime, and you challenged us to repeat these words of affirmation to ourselves. And one of them was, "I renounce my excuses."
Yes.
Another one was, "I have no bad days."
That's right.
Another one was, "I don't have failures." And those are some of the things that I do personally every day. I look myself in the mirror, I talk to myself in a quiet time, and I say those things over myself over and over again. Probably maybe you could speak about that just a little bit. Those words of affirmation that our kids should be saying to themselves.
I read over 50 affirmations. I have a morning mindset routine before I ever leave the door, before I ever walk out of the house. I believe it doesn't matter how many skills you have, how much knowledge you have, how much talent you have. If your thinking isn't right, that stuff's not going to get activated. So if you want a great body, you guys know you got to work at it. You got to follow a process. If you want a great mind, you got to do the same thing. So I do. I have 7 different devotionals that get emailed to me in the morning. I review my goals every morning. I never watch a morning news program. I haven't subscribed to a newspaper since 1997. I protect my mindset. And one of the things I read over is what Officer Lear is talking about. Affirmations. Affirmations is self-talk. It's what you say when you say to yourself, and it helps program your mind. And some of them, like, I have no bad days. Now, some people say, well, Dave, that's not realistic. Well, you got to understand, I have less than good moments. We all do, but I will not consider it a bad day. When you consider that every day 155,000 people on this planet die, every 24 hours, 155,000 people die. I don't care what happens to me today. If I got up this morning, I'm going to consider that a blessing. I am not going to call yesterday bad. I may have had some less than good moments, but that's how I choose to look at it. Things don't happen to me, they happen for me. Now, they may feel like they're happening to me. I'm going to find a way to use it. I'm going to find a way to take advantage of it. Think about my business during the pandemic. 75% of our income is from speaking engagements. 99% of my speaking engagements were canceled. Now, I could have let that happen to me, or I could have let it happen for me. We created 11 new products that we sell virtually now, that we didn't have before last March. They were never even on the table. We were never talking about them. And so we took what looked like a bad thing and we found a way to use it. And so I'm reminding myself of that every day. It's not happening to me. It may feel like it at the moment, because sometimes it does not feel good, but I'm going to find a way to take advantage of it. And I may not find it overnight, but I'm going to keep looking. I'm going to look for the lesson. I'm going to look for the silver lining. I'm going to look for a way to become stronger, wiser, better because of this. I renounce excuses. I remind myself of that every morning. I still catch myself making them from time to time, and my wife will catch me if I don't catch myself. But because I'm programming my mind every morning, I'm less likely to let it happen. I get off track, but because I work on my mindset, I get off track less often than I used to. That's growth. And when I do get off track, I catch it quicker and get back on track faster. That's growth too. We're human. We're going to get off track. We're going to blame. We're going to make excuses. We're going to get negative from time to time. But if you're growing, that's going to happen less often. And when you're doing it, you're going to catch yourself and you're going to get back on track quicker. And if you'll do those two things, you'll run circles around that poor, hapless fool who thinks he's a victim, who doesn't even know what the track is. And so reading over those affirmations, it talks about how I want to be. Now, I may not be there yet, but this is how I want to be. I own it. I'm not going to blame. I own it. I renounce excuses. Things don't happen to me. They happen for me. Another one of mine is I choose cheer. No matter what happens to me, I can choose a better response. Guy cuts me off in traffic. I don't have to get mad. I don't have to tailgate him, honk my horn, hold up both hands, show him he's number one. I don't have to do that stuff. I can choose not to let it matter. I'm not going to give up that control. So yes, Jeff, I review those affirmations every morning, and it's helped me tremendously over a number of years reprogram how I think. Because if you're not proactively programming how you think, I'll tell you what's going to program how you think. CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, all that stuff that you're leaving your mindset up for grabs, that's going to program how you think. You want to think that way? You want to think in terms of all that negative, horrific garbage? This is what people do, though. They watch garbage on television, way too much of it. They read garbage in magazines and newspapers, most of it's negative, way too much of it. They have garbage conversations with friends, whining and complaining about what's not going their way. They look at garbage on the internet. Here's what we got to know. If everything you eat is garbage, garbage starts to taste normal. And you start to lose sight of all those things that are possible and positive and productive. And they'll drain your energy. You watch too much news, it'll drain your energy. You feel helpless. You feel like you're just caught up with the flow. You feel like you're caught up in the storm. You're working on your mindset. You realize you are the storm. You're bringing the storm. You're not a victim of the storm. You don't have to be swept away. You can be that storm, but it starts with how you think, and you should be grateful for that because you get to choose how you think. Now, you can't always choose a negative thought coming into your head. You can choose to replace it. You can choose not to dwell on it. Somebody does something crappy to you, you can't control that. You can choose not to tell everybody about it, not to plan revenge, not to rehearse it over and over again. You know, every time you rehearse it, you're letting it pile on you and hurt you again and again. You can't stop birds from flying over your head. You can stop them from building a nest in your hair. And that's how negative thoughts work. We can't totally stop them. We can stop them from taking root in what we do. You get to control that. Don't leave your mind set up for grabs. Don't let the news shape your mindset and negative people. People want to tell you you're not going to amount to anything. You're not going to be able to do that. That's not for you. That's for somebody else. Don't listen to that stuff. That doesn't define you. Let me tell you what defines you. How you think and what you do. How you think and what you do. That's what defines you, not what somebody puts on you. Somebody put a white trash label on me early on. You want to call me white? Hey, I was white trash. I don't care. You can call me white trash. I lived in trailers. I couldn't eat right. But that white trash label didn't define me. How I thought and what I did determined how I would define me and how the world would define me. You got to
Love
take
that.
control of that. You got to take control of that.
Love that, brother. Absolutely love that. Positive affirmations, kids. If you didn't get the message, if you didn't hear what he said, you got to talk to yourself. You have to speak to yourself every moment of the day that you have the opportunity to. He said he does it every morning. He sits down. This is a multimillionaire. This is an accomplished man. This is a man that lives in a castle. And he takes the time to set aside, to speak positive affirmations to himself. There's something to that, boys and girls. There's something to that. With that being said, Brother Anderson, I want to go to some of the kids. Are you okay with that?
Of course, of course.
Awesome. Brother Johnny, in your essay, you talked about a little bit of bullying, about being ostracized a little bit. Tell us about your essay, what you spoke about in your essay, and how you overcame that.
Would you like me to read the essay, sir, or?
Are you able to?
Yes, sir, I am.
Let's hear it. Are you okay with that, Brother Anderson?
Of course, absolutely.
1 second, sir. Let me just pull it up. Oh, thank you. So the title is Describe Your Ideal Life 15 years from now, and what is something you can do every day, or what is something I can do every day to achieve my goal? Now, in order to achieve my goals and ambitions, education is a requirement. Straight out of high school, I will be attending Los Angeles Valley College, completing my general education in order to transfer to a California State University. Once I am attending Cal State Northridge, I'm going to major in criminology. The Los Angeles Police Academy requires a minimum of 2 years of college education. Thus, a diploma or an associate's degree is mandatory. However, I want to obtain a bachelor's degree in criminology, for my personal preference, of course. The reason why this is so important to me is because in order to move higher in ranks as a police officer, you must have a certain level of education completed along with a bachelor's degree and above. I've taken many of the opportunities that my high school has provided to me, such as college classes and college readiness. As a high school student, it is difficult to balance your time. Whether you have work or school, I've always found a way to make everything work. To be quite honest, managing my time did not happen overnight. However, thankfully, the cadet program taught me the key to organization, which leads to my second statement of time management. As a 14-year-old in the 9th grade in 2018, taking 2 college classes, including my core classes and having the cadet program once or twice a week, it was not easy. At times, I felt overwhelmed, but over time, as I grew older, I've learned it is easy to manage your time. As adults, some still have not learned to manage their time. However, the cadet program, in my eyes, was the key to not only success in the program, but success in school and at home. Currently, I am a teenager in the 11th grade striving to get good grades. In 15 years, I want to become an adult who is successful with a beautiful family and beautiful spouse and the ambition to provide for not only myself, but for those who I love and care for. 15 years from now, I hope my mother, who I love dearly, is happy and most importantly, healthy. Recently, my mother was diagnosed with chronic kidney disease. However, thankfully, God is healing her and she's been feeling like her younger self again. I want her to be there to see me as an adult. To add on, I want her to see my children, but most importantly, I want her to be there for me when I need her during those times and obstacles I encounter while pursuing my dream and ideal life. I want her to witness me walking across that stage in not only college, but once I become a police officer. What I want most is to make my mother proud. Unfortunately, no one is perfect and we all have certain obstacles we face on a day-to-day basis. I know I'll be pursuing what I was born to encounter. I want to be financially stable and independent so that I can depend on myself in any financial endeavors I stumble upon. Whether it's buying a home for my family and I, or purchasing my dream vehicle, or donating money to organizations that help those in need. I hope to be leaving a positive impact on people's lives and my community. I have been attending the cadet program for 4 years now, and over this time I've learned many life lessons. These life lessons that I learned from a young age, from the help of my peers and most importantly, officers. I will use the advice they have provided to me to grow as a teenager leading on to my adulthood, which is why I'm highly thankful for all the opportunities the cadet program and the scholarship committee has given to me over the course of my 4 years as a Hollywood cadet. If I do win this scholarship, I will save the money for college and all the books and supplies are required for college. I cannot say thank you enough.
Johnny, so you are one of the scholarship award winners. You are going to get some monies from brother Anderson. Just in your own words, tell us what that means to you and what you've taken away from what Brother Anderson has said today.
Well, I've taken everything he has said into my own advice, and I'm going to use that advice he has spoken for my adulthood and for even now, especially now, because as a teenager, I'm trying to develop an adult mindset and become mature because it's just vital. You know, as an adult, you don't want to be acting like a teenager, doing teenage things or hanging around the wrong people. You want to surround yourself with good people and people that have the same goals as you, whether it's becoming a police officer or being successful in life. It's very important that you surround yourself with great people. And the cadet program and all your advice that you've given me today has just made me grateful for what I have, whether it's great friends or good people to look up to, such as police officers, Officer Lear, yourself, my YSOs, and so many more people that it's just too much to mention or too much to talk about. And I
Very well
really
said, brother. Very well said. Thank you very much. Brother Alejandro, what have you taken away from what he said, and what has resonated with you today? What has inspired you?
Well, one of the things I resonated with the most is about giving excuses. You know, coming from a country that does not provide, you know, safety for its citizens. And, you know, I could have used that mentality when coming here, you know, using that mindset of being a victim, really. But that is, early on, I realized it's not going to get me anywhere, like Dave said. And what really shapes you is how you respond to that. And which is why I strive to, you know, to hopefully, you know, go to college, even though I might not, I know my family is not able to financially provide that for me, but I'm not going to complain about that. And I'm finding ways on how to get to that goal. And, you know, I have a couple of friends that, you know, they're like, oh, I'm just going to go, I just don't want to go to college. I don't feel like it. And I think that mentality is very wrong, because if you really want to get something, you have to work for it. And just giving up immediately, it's really like a poor mindset, like just giving up the towel before you even try. Like, we're not even out of high school yet, and they already have that mentality of not going to even college, which is not necessary, like they've said, but that mindset doesn't really help. It's not even going to help you find the job later on. So I think that's one of the most important things he said.
Very well said, Alejandro. Very well said. Miss Andrea Partida. Miss Andrea, he talked about your background, coming from a poor economic background, making it to the mountaintop, not giving up, working hard. What, out of all the stuff that he said, what resonated with you, ma'am?
So I think like putting excuses towards yourself. I know I have done that many times, and it really hasn't gotten me anywhere, because you can't blame, like you said, you can't blame anyone else for your mistakes. You have to own up to them and have a bigger mindset. You can't keep telling yourself you can't do it. It was someone else's fault. You know, I didn't have time that day, and I feel like I've done those excuses, and I have to stop and grow up to them and have a bigger mindset, and instead keep telling myself, like, throughout the day, you know, I can do this, I can manage my time. And like my brother said, we're not financially, you know, to go to college. My parents can't provide that, so I have to work up to that, and study and try as hard as I can to get there.
Very nice, ma'am. Very nice. Very nice. Well said. The Bautista brothers, can I talk to you guys for a second? Positive affirmations, some things that you guys say to yourself. What is it that you're going to take away from the talk today?
So one of the things so one of the things I'm gonna take from this today is to tell myself to not make excuses, and whenever there's a bad day, to not think it as a bad day, but as something you need to learn from. You need to learn why. You need to, I'm sorry, I'm just nervous.
You're doing great.
You need to learn as to, I lost my train of thought already. Oh my God. So whenever a bad day happens, right? You need to learn from it. You need to know why it happened, and you need to stop yourself from actually thinking it was your fault if it wasn't your fault. You need to just move on from that day and think that the next day will be better. And not think, you will make it better for yourself.
Well said, brother. Well said. Very nice. Let me go to Mr. Alvin. Alvin, tell me something that that you heard today that's going to stay with you, that's going to help you make it through high school and on to college.
So something that I learned from today was that there's never a bad day. So like he said, like you wake up one day, that's a blessing. You never take that as a bad day. Never make excuses, or you're never gonna get anywhere.
All of our kids have been listening, Brother Anderson. I don't know if you can
have.
tell, they've been listening.
And I'm loving that they're picking up on the taking responsibility part, and sometimes there is some blame to go around, but you don't gain anything by pointing to it, just taking responsibility. And there's a power in just saying, this is on me. I own it. Do you know when you say that, the argument's over, the discussion's over. There's no reply to that. When you just say, I own it, this is on me, I'm going to do better, you can move on to something else. When you're trying to cover your rear end, now you get into this big debate and people are like prosecuting you. I just own it. It's on me. And then you can move on to the next thing. There's a freedom in that. Just taking responsibility. And man, the sooner in life you can do that, people are going to notice that in the workplace. They're going to see you as more coachable, more moldable, more promotable. People who will take responsibility, people want to rally around that. They will want to invest more in those people because they can grow those people. I'm glad so many of you are picking up on that.
How could they not? You're such an awesome person. How could they not? We try to get out of here in an hour, but I want to do a challenge for our kids. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, sure.
You can be the judge of our challenge. We haven't done a challenge in a long time.
Okay.
Yuritsa and Miguel, actually Yuritsa is a 3-time or 4-time winner of our challenges. Is it 3 or 4, Yuritsa? She don't even, 4-time winner of our challenges. So today we're going to challenge our kids to come up with a motivational saying, a motivational phrase, a motivational short speech that they would give to their friends, their colleagues, their classmates. So I need 3 participants. Raise your hands. 3 participants who's willing to play the game for a medal.
Whoa.
Anybody?
John raised his hand.
Who is it?
John.
We got 1. John is 1. Anybody
Valerie,
else?
Is that you? Did you raise your hand? Valerie? Val?
Mercy, Val, one of you guys are awesome at it.
You want to do it?
I need 1 more. Okay, the Flores brothers. I like that. So you guys create in your head or repeat what Brother Anderson said, your best motivational speech, your best motivational statement, as if you're giving it to our audience or your classmates or somebody that you love. And Brother Anderson, you will be the judge.
All right.
So who wants to go first? Flores brothers? You guys ready? No? Oh my goodness. Everybody's shy today. No? Nobody?
I'm not a mean judge.
I don't get it. Normally they jump on challenges.
I'll go, sir.
Jeff, John's going to go first.
I can't see him, but okay, go ahead, John. Where you at? Where you at?
Probably your next page.
Okay, there you are, brother. Go ahead.
So this is just going to be from my thought, like an add-on of Dave's speech. So procrastination. I want to talk about procrastination. So procrastination is one thing that every student, every adult, every teacher, and everybody goes through, whether it's from work, from home, from school. I'd say that even I procrastinate at times. You know, I've learned over the years that I've been growing mentally and taking advice from people that if you procrastinate, it's just going to set you back. And life is full of setbacks, and you don't need more setbacks on your plate. By plate, I mean what's in front of you. Whether it's your schoolwork or, say, for instance, you have a job interview and you're not practicing how you would talk to the manager or whoever's in charge of the hiring process. You know, people don't really take into consideration that if they procrastinate, they're just going to ruin the chances of them becoming successful. And millionaires, billionaires, even a president procrastinates at times, whether it's not giving a formal address at times. I mean, presidents, of course, they're on track. They have everyone to tell them what to do, but not everybody has someone to tell them what to do. Not everybody has an assistant. I don't have an assistant. Of course I don't. But
Brother Johnny, this is a short speech, a short one.
Oh, okay. Sorry,
you did great, but this is just a short one.
Good job, though. Very good job.
Love you, brother. Good.
That's all I have to say.
Good job, brother. Love you. Go ahead, Mercy. Mercy or Val, go ahead.
Okay. I guess what if I were to like motivate anybody, I think what I would say is pretty much that whenever you feel at your worst, whenever you feel like giving up, whenever you feel like, you know, like you just can't keep going anymore, I feel like that's when you have to keep pushing the hardest. I feel like you gotta like hug that pain and you gotta like embrace it, and you gotta be like, you know, grab it by the hand and be like, let's go, let's do this, because that's the only way that you're really gonna be able to keep going.
Ooh, hug that
was
pain.
powerful.
Hug that pain. That's a tough one. You guys are good.
That's a good one.
I wonder who told you that.
Who's next? I think Alejandro wants to go next. Alejandro, you're up.
I think one of the lessons I've learned.
No, this is a motivational speech. You got to give a motivational speech. Bring some energy. Bring some enthusiasm.
So don't set limits for yourself. That is something I've learned. You know, I have this passion, for example, for cycling. And before I didn't know how expensive it is to even buy a bike. And I didn't set my limit. I'm like, oh, because of the financial, I'm not going to be able to do it. I didn't set a limit for myself. I found ways. I got my first job and I was able to reach that passion. So if you go into that mindset of, you know, setting your limits for yourself, oh, I'm not good at math or anything, you're not going to get anywhere. So you really need to have that passion for what you want, and, you know, not think that you're not capable of doing those things. I think that's a very important thing in life.
Very nice. Very nice. Nice and subtle. I like the way the message was delivered. It was really subtle. I like that. Very good. I think Flores Brothers, you guys are up. It's on you guys. Bring it home.
What I learned from Mr. Anderson is to study, work hard, no excuse, and be responsible.
Ooh.
That's great.
Ooh.
That's awesome.
Unless we got some late participants, it's up to you, Brother Anderson. Time to make a decision.
I'm curious, how many of these 4 were scholarship winners?
All 4 of them were, sir.
All 4 of them. Well, I'll tell you, it's a hard decision, and I think the most motivational I'm going to give to Mercy. But I'll tell you what else I'm going to do. I'm going to send $1,000 extra scholarship for each of the 4 that participated.
Wait, I got one.
I'm going to send an extra $1,000 for each of the 4 that participated, and I hope that's a lesson that when you have an opportunity, You jump your ass in the arena. You don't sit and watch somebody else do it.
Love that.
Boys
Love
and
that.
girls, did you hear that lesson?
That was a good lesson.
Have your opportunity. And for you not taking, see the missed opportunity. We always speak about this. The opportunities which you don't take are the greatest misses.
Just show up. Just show up.
I'll send you that extra $4,000 tomorrow.
Wow.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you so
My pleasure.
much.
My pleasure.
Amazing.
Mr. Dave, before we get you out of here, I know you've dropped so many pearls of words of wisdom on us, but we do words of wisdom at the end of every segment. So if you could do something that we can play back on our Facebook page or something that'll motivate the kids going forward from here, we would love to hear it from you, sir.
You know, I just encourage you early on in life to embrace excellence. Now, if you look up the definition of excellence, it's defined as being superior or eminent. But let me qualify that. Excellence is not being superior to someone else. The type of excellence I'm talking about is being superior to your former self every day. Be superior to who you were yesterday. Have a superior attitude, superior discipline, superior character choices. That's what you can control. You can't control how hard someone else is going to work or what gifts they have. And if you're measuring yourself against someone else, you can either get an overinflated or an underinflated value of who you really are. But if you continue to compete against you, continue to compete against who you were and what you did the day before, you will be on an exciting growth journey that makes every day a challenge, every day a contest. And if you focus on being your best, you will be the best. It's just a matter of time.
Can't thank you enough from the bottom of my heart, from our program to all the kids and families that are on this. This will be up on our Facebook page, kids. I implore you to rewatch it over and over again. Get inspired by this, by our guest today. Pick up one of his soon-to-be 15 books that he's written. Read some of the words of encouragement that you just heard from this man live and indirect. Again, thank you, my brother, and I will see you soon.
My pleasure. You guys, this is my best hour of the day. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank
you guys
you.
are great work.
Bless you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you all for participating too, guys. That was awesome.
It was fun.
Good.
Well done. God bless you all.
Take care.
Thank you, Cap.
God bless you. Bye.
Bless you guys.
Bye. God bless you. Thank you.
Did you guys hear when Captain said like I was one of the finest officers here? Did you hear that? Did anybody else hear that?
I think
Nobody?
the internet broke down when that started happening.
Really? That's strange.
I hope they don't post it on YouTube, but we got to start talking about this guy drinking on the job, y'all.
Came across loud and clear on my end. I'm just